Okay, so time to turn our attention to Matlock Town Football Club, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by the Matlock Town gaffer. I'm joined by Paul Phillips. Philo, how are you today?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Very good.
Good.
Since the last show, Matlock have played their first two games of the NPL Premier Division League campaign for the 2022-23 season, and so far we're on one victory and one defeat, so we're exactly the same as what the Gladiators did in their first two games last season. So let's just concentrate on the opening day of the season firstly. So a 1-0 victory at home against Whitby Town, and I was there myself. I thought it was an excellent Gladiators performance, particularly in the first half. Just how pleased and how relieved, I guess, were you to get off on the right foot and get 3 points straight off the bat?
Yeah, definitely. Listen, they've had a bit of a voodoo over us over the last few years. I don't think they've lost at our place for the last 5 years, I've been told. So it's probably a little bit of a bogey team, first game of the season. Scorching day. I thought we played some really good stuff first half. Sort of got knocked out of our stride with a water break and a bit of an incident in the crowd. So that sort of stopped our momentum when we was really looking to push on. Had a legitimate goal chalked off, which the referee apologised for after when I showed him the footage. So, yeah, I was happy with the first half. Second half, it was a stop-start, again with water breaks and different things, but it was good to get the victory, and the performance was probably 60-70% close to what I was looking for as well.
And you, that second goal should definitely have stood, because I was sat behind all the Whitby directors and none of them even appealed. So I knew there was
No, no,
nothing wrong with
no.
that goal.
Listen, when we looked at the footage after, and I think you can always tell a decision by the way the players on the field act, and not one person appealed for it. And if you see the footage, it's actually Johan having to get him fouled who puts the ball in the net rather than doing the fouling. So it's not cost us the game, but again, small margins could have cost us points.
Yeah, and just looking back now to Tuesday night's game earlier on this week. So away at Radcliffe, who have got an interesting team for this season. They'll certainly be looking to improve drastically on their 16th place that they finished last season. And it ended up being a 1-0 defeat for the Gladiators last Tuesday night. From what I've heard, it sounded like a good game, and Matlock actually played pretty well, but just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. What was your assessment of the team's performance as a whole on Tuesday night?
I thought majority played better than we did on Saturday. First half, there was only one team in it on the front foot, played some good stuff going forward, creating chances, three or four really gilt-edged chances, and we've not taken them. And so you're always in a possession where you could get stung at the other end. And I think Radcliffe have had one shot, even though I thought they probably shaded the second half, if I'm being honest. Possession wise, down the hill. But I thought the game should have been over. We should have been 2 or 3 up come the end of the first half. Again, goals win matches, and we can't rely on the likes of Qualsharo and Nico and Johan to keep clean sheets every week. I say I just thought we was a bit too nice in the second half, a bit too naive, stood off him too much, and I made my feelings known at the end of the game. I thought for the experience we had in our team and for the experience going into the game, was a bit passive in areas where we're normally quite aggressive. And if you see the goal that got scored against us, it's not a goal that we're sort of in our DNA that we concede. And for me, it's got to be eradicated pretty soon or there have to be changes in certain areas.
And just in terms of players who haven't featured yet this season for Matlock, obviously we know about Reece Kendall because he's missing games through suspension. He's got one more to go, but I understand as well that Lee Whelan and Callum Murphy, who signed from Chesterfield just down the road. Am I right in saying they've still not featured yet just because we're waiting on international clearance? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I've actually phoned the Irish FA myself today because the two lads who I think can play a key part, and with 3 games in a week this week, the two lads could have. No disrespect to the lads on the bench last night, especially Callan bringing him up front, replacing Jake Day after 50, 60 minutes after he did a big shift on the Saturday. I think it would have been a great swap, and it'd give him a lot more problems than we sort of threw on at the time. I think obviously Lee coming on as well with the energy in midfield, I think can add things. But obviously when you play like we do, and we need a number 9 who can do quite a lot of things, and he sort of challenging, picking second balls up. I think Callan's perfect foil for that, and we relied on a lot of Jake Day in the last 2 games, and we need someone that's going to sort of replicate that if they're coming on the pitch after 50, 60 minutes. And I think Ratcliffe, if you looked at their bench last night, they had a lot of experienced lads, they had a lot of quality coming off the bench, and I felt that with the lads missing, and this is no excuse, like I say, I still feel we had enough to win the game, but I think that if we can get them to, and Kendall back as well, who's just stupidly suspended, I think we're in a lot better position.
Okay, and just looking ahead to this weekend's game then, just a short trip to Morpeth, only a few miles down the road, of course.
You're going by helicopter?
No, private jet for me on my NDR wages, yeah.
Yeah.
Morpeth Town away from home, and Morpeth certainly haven't got off to the best starts for this season. They've already conceded some late goals in their 2 games to start off their account this season, but they're a tough team still, Morpeth, and certainly should be around the top half this season. Should be a tough game for you, especially away from home. What kind of game is in store, do you think, there? Because last season it was a very, very even goalless draw last season at their place.
It's always hard up there. One, you've got the journey, early set off and a long day. Secondly, the pitch isn't great. It's a 4G pitch and not a very good one at that. For me, it's very, very sticky. Not sort of good for free flowing football, or football to be played in a way that you normally do on a 4G pitch. They'll be big, physical, strong. We had them watched against Guiseley last night, and it was very unlucky. Guys who scored quick goals late on in the game, as you said, sort of changed the complexion of the game. And listen, it's going to be a tough. Whenever you go to the North East, whether you go to Morpeth, South Shields, any teams up that neck of the woods, you're always in for a tight, hard game. But a game now that really we need to win to sort of mark off where we need to be after 3 games. We want to be on 6, 7 points. Probably a little bit short where we sort of marked where we need to be, but we're playing a bit of catch up. But we definitely need to go up there and put 3 points on the board.
Yeah, and just lastly, because it's kind of common, especially in the NPL Premier Division as well, to be playing a bunch of games right at the start of the season. So the Tuesday afterwards, you're at home again, then against Stalybridge. I guess that at this stage of this season, when you're like selecting your teams, you're having to sort of always think about the game after that as well, because you know at the moment you're playing about 3 games in 7 days for a few weeks. Are you always having to select your team sort of thinking about the game after as well and making sure players aren't getting too tired already?
It's hard, that, Matthew, because you've not got big enough squads. As I said to you on Saturday, I think when I spoke to you after the Whitby game, I think it's absolutely ludicrous that we ask players, part-time players, to play. I think it's 4 games in the space of 7, 8 days after we start a week later in the Conference North. Why couldn't we start exactly the same time as the Conference North and spread the games out? It's, for me, there's no common sense used whatsoever, and I've said that all the way along. You probably feel like I'm moaning a bit, but we're asking people to pay money to come through the gates and pay and watch good football, and not just our team. I speak to other managers. We play, like I said, we play 4 games in the space of 8 days. You're not always going to get the same quality because you not a lot of lads have got 20, 25 man squad, so I think you've got to use a bit of shrewdness, but you've also got to keep you have got to keep an eye on the next game. But when you're going into a game, you always want to win it, so you've got to make sure that you're playing the right team to hope to get 3 points out of the game that you're being involved in, like say Saturday, before you look at Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Great stuff, Philo. Thanks for your time as always, because I know you're always extremely busy every week. So thanks for your time, and
no problem whatsoever.
Best of luck for the game away at Morpeth on Saturday, mate.
Thank you. Thanks, mate. Thank you.